thanks to those joining me live and to those that'll be joining me and the rest of this panel here on Archive. We got Blood Boxing on here. Okay, returning on the Leave It in the Ring network. We got Milcar, host of the Leave It in the Ring show, along with Dave Duenas, aka 97 Rough. We got G Funky and myself, the two halves of Hispanics Caused Them Panic. We got Dave 408, and we also have the one, the only Joe Habib from Ringside Reporter. You can now
take over
Ringside. You can also listen to it now on the Leave It in the Ring network as well. Okay, shout out to the chat. We have Run PMC saying HCP, Salute Style panel, and a chat. Shout out to you, man. Fistiana, I appreciate you very much for joining the D-Style membership. For as low as 99 cents a month, you could join the channel and support this whole thing from moving here, okay? And Joe Lopez 40 ounce, Mr. Boxing Today 2, Chain with Ice, and all you guys, welcome. All right, make sure you throw a jab at my like button and subscribe if you like the content, and always hit that bell button. That way you're notified every time D-Style Boxing comes on live. With that said, I first also want to congratulate Blood on a great Salvador Sanchez documentary. I think you did great on that, man. So good job on that, Blood. Yeah, but there you go. Take to your bow. All right. Let's go ahead. We're going to go right at it here, okay? Right away. Vinny Paz has come out, right, saying that, he knows that Fury's on clenbuterol and on hormone, enhancers and all this stuff. All right. He's throwing shots at him for being a druggie and all that good stuff. All right. Joe Habib, I'm going to go to you first. What is your reaction to Vinny Pazienza throwing these accusations out there?
It's very, very ironic because Vinny Pazienza is from Rhode Island, which is about 40 minutes away from where I live in Boston. And I know a lot of things about Vinny Pazienza. So, for him to make those accusations after what I know about him, and he's kind of dabbled in a lot of substances himself that aren't totally legal. He's admitted to using ephedra before fights, which is a stimulant. So it's kind of like the kettle calling the teapot black here, and I just don't see it. When you look at Tyson Fury, I just don't see why he would take growth hormone. People that take growth hormone, they tend to be a little bit leaner than Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury just doesn't have the physique. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Tyson Fury was on stimulants or something like that, but I don't think he's on any anabolics or anything like that. It just doesn't. If he is, then he's got some pretty crappy shit that he took, because it doesn't show in his physique.
Oh, okay, well, there you go. That is your thoughts. Dave, 97 Rough, what are your thoughts on this, man?
Oh, man. I thought it was out of left field. I mean, I think that with Vinny, I think the problem with him is that he's trying to stay in the limelight, He's still trying to figure out how social media works. And, yeah, I mean, I agree with everything what Joe was saying. I mean, here you got a guy that, really honestly, he admitted that he used drugs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. His body bloomed up at a time, and in the 90s, where there was no drug testing, there was no VADA, USADA wasn't doing a very good job. So for him to do the eye test to say like, oh, this guy's on this, and you know what? It's him trying to get himself to fit somewhere in the conversation of what's going on in boxing. It's a great PR move, but it's just not good enough. It's not good enough as what Deontay Wilder has done, which is accepted the conspiracy QAnon boxing community theories,
Well said. And Dave, 408, what are your thoughts on this, man?
I'm struggling to see if Vinny's coming to the rescue of Deontay Wilder. I'm struggling with that. It's like recently I was on social media, and I saw that a comedian that I'm a real big fan of was on the Trump train, and now he's facing cancel culture. So I don't know if there's something going on in the water that we're all drinking where people are trying to pick sides or whatnot, but I think it's a bad look for Vinny. And I thought I saw that Vinny was up for the Hall of Fame, so I don't know if this is a good look for Vinny.
I agree with that.
Just for the record, I mean, I don't think someone should not vote for Vinny just because he's saying this. It should be based on what he did in his career. However, I do agree with you. It could prevent a couple of writers to not vote for him. You know what I mean? So it is what it is with that. Emil Carr, give me your thoughts on this, man.
I think that he should sue. I would be suing like crazy. I'd be trying to make as much money as I possibly could.
You mean Fury?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'd also be suing if I were Mark Breland. I mean, you can't just come out and make accusations like this. You know, these are the type of things that could hurt a person's career. You know, make it difficult for them to earn money. Because at the end of the day, once these things get out there in the internet, people run wild with it. And, you know, a lie is, you know, halfway around the world before the truth gets his pants on. So I would actually be taking it a lot worse than Fury, you know, if I was in his position.
Hey, shout out to Mr. Boxing today. I appreciate that $5 super chat. Much appreciate. Thank you for your support and everyone who supports the channel. Rhode Island in the house, as Bruce goes. A-Rod on here. What's up, Carnal? And Dan the Man Boxing says, what's happening, chat? How's it going? Kind of local sports on here. How are you doing? Chief Funky, talk to us. What do you make of Vinny Paz's accusations here?
Well, first thing I want to say is that this is news to me. I didn't hear anything about it until you brought it up right now. I mean, it's just wild, all the stuff that's coming out after this fight. Just extremely wild stuff, crazy accusations being thrown out there with I mean, literally no proof at all. That's where I have the issue with all this stuff. You know, if you guys are going to make claims, make accusations, I need something that proves it. You know, some substantial evidence. Just saying, well, he looks like this or that, you know, that doesn't do it for me, man. And I agree with Emil Carr. Maybe there should be some legal stuff that goes down after all this, because it's getting too far for me, man.
Vinny's broke, though. I mean, let's be honest here. You're going to sue him for what? He ain't got no money.
I would have thought he made some money off that movie.
Nah, he didn't make no money off that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But let me say this, man. Look, as far as, and shout out to Fistiana, shout out to you. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, this is what I'm seeing, and I'm seeing a lot of this, okay? So everything's a two-way street. So I keep hearing some Wilder fans saying, man, everyone's attacking Vinny Pazienza. What are they going to call him now? Wilder fanboy? Are you going to call him that now? Is he a Wilder fanboy too? I don't know what he is, but this is what I know, okay? If he said the opposite, all the people saying that Glovegate's bullshit, those fighters are getting attacked and being called all types of names. So everything works both ways. You know what I mean? We don't base it off of what would we have done if it was the other way, or no. That's what about it? That shit doesn't matter. He's saying what he's saying, and all I gotta say is, what's your proof? Well, he cheated before. Hold on, Dave. He cheated before, right? He cheated before is not proof of anything. A dude goes to jail, goes to prison for murdering somebody, right? They find somebody killed in a jail cell. You don't just say, well, it's definitely him because that motherfucker killed somebody, okay, before he came to jail. So he's a murderer, so therefore he's guilty. That's not the way it works. You have to provide proof in that specific instance. But go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to add to what you were saying. I mean, I think what Vinny was doing was jumping on the American train. You know, like, in other words, he's like, hey, Deontay Wilder's an American. Let me back him up. Let me add my sense so that I can show my support to this American fighter. That's all it was, you know? And like I said, I go back. I think Vinny is just trying to find some way to fit himself into something to possibly make some money there. I could be completely wrong, but that's it. When I saw that and I heard that, I was like, I think that's where he's going with it.
Absolutely. Blood Boxing back on here. All right, how's it going, Blood?
Hey, man, I'm out in the boondocks, man. Shit, man. What are you guys talking about? I missed every fucking thing y'all just said.
So, Vinny Pazienza's come out and he's saying he knows Fury is using clenbuterol and hormone enhancers, and he knows it just by looking at him. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, well, you know, Vinny Paz would know, man. You know, You know, you got to look at the Vinny Paz who fought Greg Haugen. The first 2 times, he was a little skinny runt kid back in them days. This would be around the late '80s. After he took that loss to Roger Mayweather, he started to bulk up a little bit. He moved up in weight. By the time he fought Greg Haugen that third time, shit, he looked like he was on some shit his damn self. And then he had that neck injury. You remember he had that fucking neck injury from that accident? He had a neck injury, and then he was taking steroids and all kind of shit. So he knows about that kind of shit. He know about that dirt that people are capable of doing. But I still don't think he got enough just by looking at him. Come on, man. I mean, he had to be hanging around Tyson Fury or something, man. He had to have some inside information. So I don't know. I don't buy it. I know he know a lot about that fucking lifestyle though, because he admitted that he used steroids and shit like that. And you can tell by looking at him. Look at his body. Look at the difference with his body as the years advanced. That's all I have to say about it.
I hear you, man. Hey, I wanted you to transition us to the next topic here, Blood.
Okay.
Do you think, it looks like Wilder is, looking to take this to court, to have Fury, do that third fight. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think Fury should fight him a third time?
Well, you have to look at it like this. First of all, why is Wilder even putting all this information out there? Okay, if you want to do business with somebody, you don't go and run their name down in the ground and expect them to want to do business with you after you're done running their name down in the ground. He's going around accusing this man of loading his gloves and all kind of shit, accusing people of all kind of stuff. He don't got no fucking evidence. So of course, people are not gonna want to make money with him. Fury, he could go elsewhere. Ain't nobody gonna back Fury into no corner. This guy put coke in his fucking nose, man. All right, he don't care. He says whatever the fuck he wants to say, and he does things the way he likes to do them. All right, so he's not gonna let nobody back him into no corner with this mediation bullshit. They're not going to come to no terms, and he could just stay over there and make his money over there. They could go to some other country. They'll find a loophole. They always find a loophole, and he'll go somewhere else, and they'll make the money somewhere else. He don't have to answer up to them. And me, I think it's bad class to expect somebody after you accuse them of doing A, B, and C to want to do business with you. He could go make business and make dollars with Anthony Joshua. Okay, so that's the big fight for him now. So if Wilder wants to wait until after, from what I heard, he waited until after the contract expired. Yet I don't know nobody who's seen the contract. But if that's the way it is, then hey, you let time run out, man. And it seems like he's trying to get out of it. If you know that Tyson Fury is a strong personality, and you know that he ain't gonna give in, then what do? You accuse him of all kind of shit and get yourself out the fight to where the man don't want to work with you now. So that's just a bullshit. It's just a bunch of bullshit. And he could also save face with his fan base, with his extreme fans. He could save face because you know how the Wilder fans are, man. They'll defend him no matter what because they put all that stupid shit out there. So now they have no choice but to defend him because they're gonna look weak pulling out of their dumbass argument that we told them not to go with their narrative. Let your fans say that. You stay away from that shit. If you want this third fight, some of us said that shit before this shit even happened. Do not come out and say all this shit because it's going to ruin the fight. And that's what's happened. I don't know. I could talk about this shit for an hour. So I'd like to hear what someone else has to say.
Well, I want to go, and the reason I want to go to 97 Rough next is this. I mean, you did say that you believe that maybe this is a way, like those accusations is a good way to sell the fight. Yeah. But is it going to help him make the fight? That's the important part. Because if it's going to because Fury came out and said, you know what, I'm not going to fight him anymore. I'm going to go fight Joshua. Do you think in trying to maybe hype the fight or whatever, he lost the fight?
Well, I mean, we don't know yet. I mean, has it generated any interest with fans or casual fans? Because look, he did a great move. He did the Floyd Mayweather move, which was there was a big fight weekend. He started, he released this whole video, which I said was great with the piano in the background, made it like super dramatic and stuff. Me and Amilcar really got into that. We talked about that. It was like the Game of Thrones speech. And but like I said, look, I thought it was a brilliant move because in all honesty, before this even happened, on Leaving the Ring with my co-host Amilcar, we had already talked about that. Nobody had interest in this. Like there was no reason And there was really no interest from the Fury camp and Top Rank camp. You know what I mean? Like, they really didn't have any interest. Like, you didn't see them really pushing that they were going to go that route. So I think what Fury did and his team did was, like, they looked at certain things and they said, look, we got this fanatic fan base like Blood was just talking about. Let's run with it, and let's see if the shit sticks to the wall. And but we don't know yet if it did stick. Did it get? I mean, Tyson Fury, obviously it struck a nerve with him because he said, you know what? After all that shit you said, I'm not going to give you the fight. But again, that's another tactic there to strike interest. That makes people go like, whoa, wait a minute. Hold on. Before you say that, Tyson Fury, we want to see the fight. And that's where Bob Arum is at. And you know, you can't blame Bob. Bob is a businessman. This is a business. Boxing is a business. It's called prize fighting. There's got to be money there. And right now, I think what Bob is realizing and everybody else is seeing is that if there's no gate open, the fight is really not going to sell. Or it's not going to make the money to pay these guys what they want.
All right, Joe Habib, do you concur with that? And what are your overall thoughts, man, on this, you know?
I think Dave made some great points. I think Deontay Wilder is going to play the bad guy role in here, in this situation, just to garner attention for the fight. But, you know, Deontay Wilder does have some good points. And I know before I was saying I don't care if I see the fight or not, but technically, if you really think about it, when you look at contracts, there's a term used in legalese called force majeure. And that's when you have a contract, but due to a crisis, a pandemic, a natural disaster, the contract can't be fulfilled. Now, it works both ways. So boxing just came back in late September, right? It just started rolling out late September, early October. They were supposed to fight Fury and Wilder in October, okay? And lo and behold, now we find out that the expiration clause in that contract was in October. And I interviewed Bob in September, I believe, and I asked him about, you know, is there an expiration clause in the contract? And he goes, well, I don't want to talk about that. He goes, we're looking ahead to December 5th or December 12th, and if we can't get that, we're going to nail it down for February. So because of the pandemic, obviously that October date could not be fulfilled, okay? So when they go to arbitration and they put this in front of a mediator, all this is going to be taken into account, because again, this pandemic changed everything. You know, all bets are off once this pandemic happened. So they you know, Bob Arum and Fury, they did agree to this fight in December. Now all of a sudden, you know, they want to take that off the table. So they already circumvented that expiration clause, and that wasn't a problem. Now all of a sudden they're going to exercise that. What I think is happening here is Bob really wanted to put this in front of a live crowd, as everyone knows, and as he has said. So Bob had a certain price point for this fight that he just didn't want to go below. You know, because again, promoters get a cut of the revenue as well. So Bob had a certain amount of money that he wanted this fight to make, and obviously he had a certain amount of money that he wanted to make off this fight. And now he's realizing that maybe those numbers won't come to fruition. So now I think he's got other people, talking to him about Joshua, other people possibly making offers about that Joshua fight. So Bob's going to follow the money. But technically, he's going back on his word, which is, wow, that doesn't happen very often in boxing, does it? But I think from an ethical standpoint, I think Deontay Wilder does deserve this rematch. And obviously, as I said, it wasn't going to happen in October because of the pandemic. So I think Deontay Wilder and his team do have a case when they do bring this to an arbiter, because they can just use the pandemic as an excuse as to why this fight wasn't in October. And he can also say that we did have an agreement, verbal agreement, to have this fight in December, and now he's going back on his word. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see once the binding arbitration starts, how this thing is going to play out. But I think Deontay Wilder has a case in making this third fight. And here's another thing too. Joshua lost to Ruiz. He got his rematch. He lost badly. So Deontay Wilder, I think from an ethical standpoint, I think he does deserve this rematch. I don't think he's going to win, but doesn't matter. You still have to fight the fights. I still think that I'd rather see Fury fight him than fight this guy, Ajit Caballero, whatever his name is. I'd rather see Wilder Fury 3 than seeing Fury fight this guy that really no one cares about.
Well said. Hey, I want to give a shout out to ING 928KU, Philly Irish, Drew, Evo, Nopal, Boxellanos, Gano Local Sports, Juan Morales, all you guys. Shout out to you. Make sure you throw a jab on my like button, and remember, big news. You can now listen to the Leave It in the Ring Network on Pandora. All right, so if you have that Pandora app, you can listen to all the shows on there. Look. Milcar, what are your thoughts on this, man?
I mean, it always seems like I'm disagreeing with Joe. I mean, last time it was the Inoue stuff, but I just can't agree with a lot of what he said. You want to talk about ethical, reasons for why Wilder deserves a rematch. We just discussed all of the shit he's been saying about, the commission being against him. His trainer poisoning his water. Fury putting egg weights. At first it was the suit he was wearing. Then it was the bicep injury it's just been a litany of excuses after excuses. And like Blood Boxing was saying, you can't drag a man's name through the mud and then expect him to then do the right thing and give you a rematch. To me, the second fight was warranted. I felt that Fury won it. He got a rematch. He won clearly. As far as the force majeure thing, that's got to be a clause in the contract. I believe they had a clause in there for delaying the fight due to injury, which Deontay used. He had that injury. Right. He had surgery. I don't know if there was a cause in there for pandemics or hurricanes or tornadoes or earthquakes or any other thing that might delay a fight. Maybe there was. If that's the case, then maybe he has a case to make in front of the arbiter. But I just don't see it. And lastly, in terms of you'd rather see a Fury Wilder 3 versus Ajit Caballero, I think everyone's in agreement on that. But I think what Fury's trying to do is set up a situation where he can fight Wilder twice in 2021 and be ready to do that. He can't do that if he's got to wait until January or February to fight Deontay Wilder, because I don't just think it's Bob. I think it's the PBC. It's probably also Fox, ESPN, that really don't want to put in the extra money it would take to make this fight happen, given the fact that they made, 16, 17 million off the gate in the first fight? The fighters would expect a similar purse, I would imagine, so they'd have to come up with that money. So I think, all parties weren't really pushing for this fight. And I would actually add Deontay to that, because we didn't hear shit from Deontay until after Fury pretty much announced that he was moving on. And then all of a sudden it was the excuses, and then now he's demanding the fight. I don't know if he was actually planning to fight or if he wanted to fight in December. I just don't know that. Maybe he was, but we never heard it.
But force majeure doesn't have to be a clause. It's for an unforeseeable circumstance.
Okay.
So that could be brought up in any situation.
Right.
I'm going to be honest. Let me just ask everyone a question here. If COVID didn't occur, would it be safe to say that this fight would have happened in October, if not for COVID?
I think so.
I don't think so.
It got delayed because of the bicep. That's why it didn't happen in October.
No, it didn't happen in July. It was supposed to happen in July, and then it got delayed to October because of the bicep.
Right.
So October was the second date, and they would have went ahead with that if it wasn't for COVID. The whole thing with Bob, this is the whole thing in my opinion, and I'm pretty. I think empirical data kind of supports my theory here.
Yeah.
Bob wants this fight. He has a price point for this fight. And the only way he achieves that price point is with the live gate. Bob's been hammering that live gate. Now, if you notice with Lomachenko and Lopez, he didn't care if there was a live gate there or not, because that he didn't have data like he had for the first the second Fury fight, where he saw that number of $17 million live gate, and
But there was a generate interest too, though.
yeah,
To back up your theory there, Joe.
So I disagree with Bob with his price point, because I don't think he can hit the. I don't think the same as you just said. I don't think the same desire for this third fight is going to be. But again, you also made a great point. Maybe Deontay Wilder, with this craziness that he's been saying, that kind of does add to the storyline. So
yeah, and if the fight would have happened in October, the question is, would have Wilder have come forth with this information? Because that would have changed it. Because I don't like the fact. I don't think Fury likes the fact that he's being accused with no proof.
Oh,
I mean, you have to have some kind of proof.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot of fights. There have been a few fights that have taken place in studios.
Hey, I'm going to let you finish your point, Hold on, I'm going to let you finish your point, but I'm going to go to Chief Funky after this. Go ahead and finish your point.
Right. I mean, I was just going to say that there have been fights that have taken place in studios. So it's not like they couldn't have fought without a crowd. But to Joe's point, if there was a price point that they needed to hit that involved the live gate, I knew they wanted to put it in the Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas. Yeah. Maybe that was the reason. But I just didn't hear anything from Deontay demanding this fight.
Because he thought he had the fight. He didn't have to talk because he thought he had it. Yep. now he doesn't have it, so now he's gonna talk. He's gonna.
Could be, but let's hear some other perspectives here. Chief Funky, go ahead and give us your thoughts on this, man.
Well, I mean, a lot of these guys, they all said good things, especially in terms of negotiations, contracts, and things like that. Like, that's not my specialty, man. I'll just put it out there like that. I don't really get into things like that. I'm more of just, when fights happen, break them down, talk about them, that sort of thing. But the way I'm looking at it is like this. They didn't split, but they had to draw the first fight. So, of course, we're going to get a rematch. Fury stops him in the rematch. So, yeah, I do think that there should be a third fight. I mean, I think Wilder, deserves a third fight. But then again, when he comes with these accusations, accusing him, his trainer of drugging him, the California Commission, Nevada Commission is in on it. The referee's in on it. Fury has egg weights. He has no padding, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, think about it like this. If you're one of these heavyweights, right, that hasn't got a big payday yet, you're probably one of those guys that would say, okay, look, I would take a Wilder fight. But if you're one of these guys that's already making good money, you got a reputation, you got a belt, like, you'd almost be crazy to get in the ring with this guy. What's going to happen when you beat him? What's he going to say when you beat him this time? That your family had a voodoo doll or some shit? It's crazy, man. Like, I personally would not get in the ring with him if I was one of those guys at the top. That's just the way that I'm looking at it, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. You beat him once, he comes with all this stuff. Like, I would stay as far away from him as I could if I was a pro fighter. But it's just gotten way out of hand, man. At this point, I don't know if we'll ever see it, but I would see it if it happens, the third fight.
So Wilder was basically
hold that thought, Beeb. Hold that thought. Just I'll go to you next. I promise you that. Okay, Trump. Beeb. No, but 408. What are your thoughts on this, man?
All right, so when those videos came out, like Dave was saying, I thought, oh wow, this is kind of genius. Where he's trying to steal the limelight on a big boxing weekend for Wilder, and I noticed that he was trying to take a page from the American politics playbook. Let's sow doubt and let's delegitimize Tyson Fury's legitimate win that we all saw. But let's sow doubt and confusion with these outlandish theories. And the video was pretty good. I mean, it was pretty entertaining. Regarding all that contract stuff, like you said, I don't follow the contracts too much. I know I want to see a third fight because I want to see a definitive end to this book. There's still another chapter that's unwritten. So will he win the third fight? It could be next year, but without a live gate, that's on my mind. These guys deserve a huge payout for this. I don't see them fighting with the coronavirus in the U.S. the way it is right now. How can we fill the seats in the stands?
Joe, go ahead, man. What were your thoughts?
So basically what Wilder was trying to do was talk himself into a third fight, but everyone seems to think that he talked himself out of it. So, I guess my question is, if he didn't say all those outlandish things, would everyone still have the same opinion about him not deserving this third fight? Because again, fighters say crazy stuff, and again, I'm not trying to validate anything he said. Please don't take me the wrong way, but I don't think he really believes half the stuff he said, and I think it's all for show anyways. I just think that this is all just to get attention and controversy. As Dave said, I don't think he actually believes any of this stuff. I just think he's trying to stir the pot and just trying to make the fight big and bigger than it could be.
He's very, you know what? Look, every time you see him in an interview, he's a really smart guy. And I go back again, what I said on Leaving the Ring is that, remember this, Deontay Wilder in the past has stirred up controversy. Remember, he said, I want a body bag on my record, you know? So this wasn't surprising for me, but this was surprising for me. G-Funk, did I hear this right? You said you would want to see a third fight?
Yeah, if it happened. If it happened, I'll watch it, yeah.
And this is coming from a guy that said, I don't want to see a Lomachenko-Lopez rematch. So Tyson knocked out Wilder, but you want to see a third match, but not a Lomachenko and Lopez rematch?
I'll tell you why, because they had a draw the first time. So they had one fight even, one guy wins the other one. Give him a chance again.
2 out of 3, Dave. 2 out of 3.
The Lomachenko fight wasn't close. The Lomachenko fight wasn't close, man. I had it 9 rounds to 3.
It was competitive. Come on. It was competitive.
Not enough for me, man. Not enough for me.
I mean, look, I got a clear win from Tyson Fury. I got a clear win from Tyson Fury. He knocks out a guy convincingly. He dominated the whole, all the rounds. It wasn't a round you can give for a Wilder. Lopez didn't even do that. And why would I want? I think most of the public agrees with me. We don't want to see a third fight. I'd rather see a Lomachenko rematch before they start negotiating to a Wilder and Tyson Fury.
Yeah, but there's some differences here, Dave. Here are some of the differences. Number one, there was no rematch clause for Lomachenko versus Lopez. So
I know that, but they'll throw that out the window. We're talking about
it is whether there's a rematch clause or not matters. That's something that really does matter. You know what I mean? At least in my opinion, like that matters in the circumstances of things, right? Like at the end of the day, if there was a rematch clause for a third fight, okay, I get where Beeb is coming from, and it goes back to what I said the last time we did the roundtable. Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, we have to separate Glovegate and whether or not somebody deserves a rematch. Like those are two separate issues, right?
100%.
At the end of the day, let's not pretend like we can't be like, you know what? I want to punish Wilder for all these wild accusations, so he doesn't deserve the rematch, right? It's not about deserve. It's about what is legally binding, right? And if a judge determines, if an arbiter determines, you know what? We've got to kind of freeze the time when the pandemic started to now and continue the length of the contract from there. If an arbiter determines that there's not, whatever we say is irrelevant, whatever Wilder and his fan base is saying, the accusations they're making is irrelevant. I don't even think that's something that's going to be presented to the arbiter anyway. Oh, he's accusing me of cheating. It's something the arbiter's going to say, well, I don't care about that. You know what I mean?
No, that's a separate case.
It's a separate case.
And maybe this doesn't even matter much, but I just don't take what Wilder says seriously when I hear him say stuff like that. It's the claims are just so incredulous that I just don't take them serious. I don't even think Fury takes them serious. I think Fury just laughs it all off. Because if Fury was pissed, he would sue for defamation, but he doesn't care. Fury's crazy. He's the same way as Wilder. Maybe he hasn't said things like Wilder has said, but Fury said some crazy things in his career as well, too. Both these guys have said crazy things. So
absolutely. Just let me really quick. I want to answer Nopal. He said, keep in mind, Dave wants Canelo Triple G trilogy. Dude, I said I have no problem with it. Just like I have no problem with the Tyson Wilder trilogy and Lomachenko and Lopez. All I'm saying is that, I think that boxing, every time something stops, like if you know what I mean, one fight happens, then some folks are like, I don't want to see another. Why not? Give the guy a chance, just like right now. He said, okay, Deontay Wilder gave Tyson Fury was a draw. Who knocks him out? Give him a chance. Okay, then let's keep that energy still going with other fights as well. Don't write off a guy. That's why a lot of times MMA is thriving a lot more in that sense because guys are always willing to give it another shot. You know, so why are we so quick to shut something down that could possibly be great, can lead to like a trilogy or like the Marquez and Pacquiao fights?
But see,
Hey, shout
listen,
out
guys,
to,
listen.
real quick, shout out to
Listen.
Ronald Finkley. I appreciate that super chat. Go ahead, Blood.
Okay, listen. Okay, we could go through all of this, okay? What if Tyson Fury, okay, what if they grant Wilder a third match and Tyson Fury says, fuck it? What happens then? Is he stripped? Can they not find a loophole and go to some other country and not fight for a belt? What's the consequence for Tyson Fury?
I think it would turn into like a Lewis Rockman situation where Rockman didn't want to give Lewis the rematch, even though he was entitled to it. And
Took him to court.
Lewis had to take him in court, and there was like an injunction prohibiting Rockman from fighting anyone until he fought Lewis. But I don't really see this as a similar situation because I honestly don't think Tyson Fury ever had a problem with fighting Deontay in a rematch.
Me either. I think the accusations is what fucked it up. I think this whole thing is based on them accusations. That's why I said to stay away from the accusations. We can sit up here and want A, B, and C, but it all comes down to the two fighters. Are they going to step in the ring? Who's really the one trying to pull the wool over our eyes here? We really don't know all the answers. We could just take an outside perspective on all of this. But when it all comes down to it in the end, I would like for these guys' careers to proceed without too much court shit going on. If Wilder's not ready, he could go and he could work his way back up, or he could go for that other belt. I think he would fit in well for that other belt that they have in the WBC belt, the Bridger belt, or whatever you want to call that. He could go with that or something like that, because if Fury decides that, hey, I don't want to fight him, and then we got to sit back and wait to see what happens with all this, mediation and all that bullshit too. They might grant him some. They might say that, well, because of COVID, you got to give him more time or whatever the case may be. We really don't know how all of that shit is going to play out and how long that shit is going to drag out. That shit could drag out throughout 2021. So I would like for these guys to proceed. You got to understand that Fury was accused of something. Mark Breland was accused of something. Ricky Hatton was accused of something.
Kenny
the commission
Bayless
was accused of something. He's made a lot of enemies here. So we can't just ignore all of that shit. He should have shut his fucking mouth. Point blank.
Well, the good news is that the arbitration process is way quicker than going through the courts, and they both signed on to do that. So it should be done pretty quickly.
I think they'll probably agree to fight once the pandemic was either a little down, you know what I mean, and probably because I don't know if they're going to be able to do it in the U.S., but a place like Texas maybe, or
I think the
England.
fight happens in February or March.
Yeah, like something like that, and I believe that's something that will happen. But I got to tell you right now, man, that there is a lot of truth. Like, I want this moment. I really want Fury and Wilder to be standing next to the ref, okay? I want that, and you guys will know exactly what I mean by this. I want that Roy Jones Tarver moment.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I want. You got any more excuses, Wilder? Any more excuses?
Yes,
and then
sir.
I want him after he beats him to take off the gloves and the wraps and hand them to Wilder's team right in front of him.
Well, they should take care of it before the match. They should, like they should have did the first time.
There was a female fight
They
in
claimed to
Mexico.
know that he was such a big cheater. So then, why did his team fail? They failed. They dropped the ball, and his fans failed to realize that. You're blaming the wrong people. They dropped the ball. If you knew that he's been this habitual cheater, then why didn't this come up till after the ass whooping? It came up. Nobody talked about the shit before the ass whooping until some non-boxing fan named Young Pharaoh hipped them motherfuckers to it. Okay,
you think that they would have been there wanting to see the gloves as they were taking off right after the fight, but
there was a fight that just happened last month between two female women, okay? The Cobra and El Barbie, okay? And El Barbie accused the Cobra girl of having something in her gloves. They immediately pulled off the gloves, the commission. They immediately took off her hand wraps. They opened it up. They took it down. They sliced it open. And guess what? There was nothing there. So if this was, and that's the thing is that unless Wilder didn't say anything that was cornered to after, I don't know, the concussion, whatever it is, we don't know. I'm not in the guy's head. But, you know, we look out through history, when a fighter goes, hey, there's something wrong with me, the corner knows that. The corner can see it, you know. And I've always said this, you got to put some pressure and some doubt and fault to a corner sometimes. You know, with Mark, he did the right goddamn thing. He saw his guy was getting his ass kicked and said, you know what, we got to live another day. You know, I don't know. It's crazy what's going on.
I'm with you, and here's the thing, man. Look, if there was a traitor in the camp, okay, that dude would have been, you would think, Jay Diaz, because he's the one that was there when your dude was getting when Fury was getting his hands wrapped. He was right there.
Right.
Okay. He was the one that was there when they were putting on the gloves on Fury. He was there. Okay, it's that was his job. If it's true that somehow they put an egg weight in there, I mean, he has to be the most incompetent fool at the very least. Okay, to allow an egg weight in the glove. Plus, I need to know, was the egg weight like on the glove or like on the palm area? Like that
I almost feel like the egg weight would have broken Fury's hand if it was put over there. I mean, you can't put an egg weight and punch somebody. It's fucking ridiculous.
Absolutely. Shout out to Neon Eyes and AD style listening from the cloud. Salute to you in the panel. Peace to everyone in the chat room. Ronald quickly says, I'm pissed. Wilder played us and himself, and he made the wrong decision, he says. Man. Hey, check it out. I want you guys, if anyone has any lingering thoughts, something you really want to say, anybody else you want to say about this topic?
I got to say something. I love how you mentioned one of Wilder's trainers there. There's literally photographic evidence, and we've showed this before on one of our shows, of him standing right there with the glove inspector from the Nevada State Athletic Commission while he's getting the gloves put on his hands. It should be game over, checkmate at that point. No more talk. None of this garbage. It's got to go away, okay? Let's just drop it so we can see the fight, you know? Let's just drop it.
Yep. Right, I want to see the fight too, man. I really do. But at this point, I don't care if it happens. If it happens, I will definitely pay for it. I'll watch it. And let's see if they inspect the gloves right this next time and what excuses come out next. Because I don't think he could beat Tyson Fury. But if he does beat Tyson Fury, I won't feel bad about it. You know, I don't care. It just would make the heavyweight picture even more confusing. You know, you got Anthony Joshua, who's the other factor there, who has to get through his fight with Pulev. And now I'm hearing that him and Pulev are not even going to fight in front of a crowd. I don't know how much significance that will hold. But it should be pretty interesting to see how the heavyweight picture sums up. I don't think that there's a whole lot of talent in the heavyweight. It's kind of top-heavy talented. But the heavyweight division, man, we just would like to see one guy who we could refer to as the baddest man on the planet. That's how it's always been.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to say, if Wilder took this to court, okay, the judge is going to ask him this series of questions. Okay, it says here that there's supposed to be a glove selection meeting. Was there a glove selection meeting? Yes.
Does the glove fit? Does the glove fit?
It says here that your corner is able to inspect the gloves while they're putting them on. Is that true? Was your trainer there? Yes. It says here your corner should be able to be there while he's getting his hands wrapped. Was he there? Yes. Okay. And I still see people, by the way, comparing this to the Antonio Margarito situation. Nothing alike at all. You're just pointing at that because it's convenient. Let me tell you something. Even if the Margarito situation was true, Wilder literally took off his gloves. Okay, Fury did. He went to Wilder and wiped the side of his face with the wraps. If there was something in the wraps, he wouldn't have done that. Okay, don't you understand? He wouldn't have put his hands on his face and greeted him that way. So stop. This is crazy.
Well, you got to be kidding me. There's a fan who said this about Margarito. They made a comparison. Are you joking me?
Comparison, and they try to tell me that because he was slapping with the egg weight. First of all, Margarito wasn't accused of having an egg weight, and it wasn't slapping Cotto. It's just two completely different situations, dude. It's completely different. You know what I mean? You know, tiredness consumes me because of Glovegate says neon eyes. Okay, stop it. She's getting tired of it. All right.
Anyway, I just think this whole thing about trying to avoid this third fight is all Aram. I think people probably in Aram's ear talking about Joshua. we're willing to put up this amount of money for the Joshua fight. If you 2 fights with Joshua, we don't even need a LIITR. We'll guarantee. Like there could be guys in Saudi Arabia talking to Aram right now about Joshua, whatever. All of a sudden, this change in plans.
DAZN and a $1 billion budget. That's what they've been parading about. Remember?
Yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. So Aram's just looking at dollar signs right now. I think he's getting a lot of potential offers from all these other entities out there about Joshua, 2-fight deal, whatever. And that's taking precedence over this Wilder situation, in my opinion. That's just why I think this is all going on right now. Because back in September, we can do it December 5th, December 19th, or we can even do it in February. Now he's got all these people in his ear. Oh yeah, we'll give you this for Joshua. You can have 2 fights with Joshua. You can make this, and this, whatever. He's seeing dollar signs. That's my opinion.
Let me make this very
clear. Yeah, they saw an
clear.
escape route with the contract. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead. Finish your point.
No, I was just saying that, yeah, you're probably right, Joe. And then they saw an escape route with the expiration thing, and that's what they're going with.
100%, yeah.
Look, the way I see it, man, I've been a big Joshua fan. I don't even like Fury, okay? Like, I don't like his personality, but I'm not going to falsely accuse him of shit, okay? And I've been arguing for the 3rd fight. But at the end of the day, there is a lot of truth to people saying, like, well, what if he beats him again and they make more? If you believe that the commission is in on it, the powers to be is in on it, okay, all these, the deep state's in on it, everybody's in on it, right? If you already believe that, then why wouldn't you believe it's going to happen again? Okay,
Right.
why wouldn't you believe that? Like, so there's a lot of truth to that. Like, I do believe that to a certain degree, in my opinion, Wilder has to, if you want to argue for the 3rd fight, that's fine. If you're doing it because you want to gain interest for the fight, it's whatever to me. But, man, I got to tell you, man, it's this Glovegate thing is rubbing me the wrong way more and more. The longer it goes on, the more it's rubbing me the wrong way. Okay? It's ridiculous. It's what it is. Right?
And I want to say something to what you talked about, how you went through the whole glove selection process and everything before the fight. Right. For those of you guys out there that haven't seen this video, I mean, if you're a hardcore fan, you had to have seen it, but maybe you haven't. Go back and watch the Maidana Mayweather fight. You could see there's video there where they're checking the gloves. You see Ellerbe, Floyd Mayweather, Floyd Sr., all these guys holding the gloves, pressing them, putting them on, hitting them with their hands. Like, you could do all this stuff with the gloves before. I mean, it's it's crazy, man. This is nothing new. It's always been there. So,
and they still complained about it. Remember?
Yeah.
G-Funky Dave, I just posted a video in the chat.
Yeah.
J. Diaz was watching the entire hand wrapping process.
Yeah.
The entire hand wrap was recorded by BT Sport.
If Wilder loses his 3rd fight, man, he's gonna look so bad.
Like, I would like to ask J. Diaz, do you believe they snuck in an egg way while the hands were getting wrapped? Yes or no?
Oh, he ain't doing that.
I'd like to ask him that question. I really
he ain't answering no questions.
Ain't nobody don't even ask him that question. Shit, fucking Manson. They won't even ask him that shit. Ain't no reporter gonna ask him nothing valid. They never do, because they're trying to secure credentials and all kind of dumb shit. We're tired of that stuff, man.
I want to see if anybody has a response for me with this, right? So, can we drop the whole he cracked his head open thing? Okay, can we drop that? That dented his skull. A bone does not dent. Okay, his brother said that it was hit with a blunt object and the bone was dented. First of all, it doesn't dent itself. Second, we have evidence of a fight where someone's skull did get dented. It got caved in. A dude got hit it with a knee. Okay, Cyborg Santos against Venom Page hit it with a knee, and you could hear it. Like, there's something unique about that sound when it cracks. Okay, dude, they had to do stitches from ear to ear, bring his skin down, and do surgery to get rid of that dent that he had. It was cracked. He had X-ray, and his career was over.
He had an autopsy, though, the D-Style. Remember that. His brother
said,
hey, my brother had an autopsy.
look, that part's funny, but I think it's distracting people from how more ridiculous it is to say that the bone was dented. This dude's career would be over, okay? Like, I honestly believe it was from the end swell. I just that's what I believe. I think they were pushing the Jay Diaz is there. He's using the end swell and he's pushing it back like the swelling. Okay, that's what it is in my opinion. Right?
Bones don't dent. They crack.
They crack. You know,
Yes.
and has anybody come out and said, "Oh, you know what? Never mind. It wasn't that." And then he still comes out and he says it's the shape of an egg weight. Here's what I want to remind you guys, okay? Because even the conspiracy theorists can't make up their fucking minds, okay? So they were always asked, is it no padding? Is it this redistribution of the padding? Is it an egg weight? Well, now Wilder's come out and said it's an egg weight. So I guess like the padding being taken off is not a thing anymore, right?
You know
So
what
now
it really was?
we gotta go with the egg weight one now.
You
My
know what it
question
really
is, where
was?
was the egg weight?
Or
I
was
know
it
what
the
it was.
open hand slapping?
No, you know what it really was? He hit him with the
So-
Infinity Gauntlet. He used the Infinity Gauntlet.
Right. No, but what I want to say is this, right? If the open palm
He
is
used
done to
more.
make
He
damage,
used millionaire.
if that's for damage. By the way, Philly Irish Drew Evo, he says if they was all in on it, don't you think they would have done it for the American fight? For the American in the fight, probably. But that's, I mean, you got to kind of think about the conspiracy. The conspiracy is that they were targeting Wilder. Like, you know what I mean? So,
Well,
but
Kenny
but that
Bayless is
aside-
actually biased against Fury.
but here's what I want to say.
Took a
Okay.
point against Fury. Yeah, took a point on Fury.
The accusations have drastically changed. First, it wasn't the right making the damage. It was the open hand, this one,
No,
right?
you're right.
And
You're
then
right.
they switched it. Then they said, no, it was with the right, actually. He had the egg weight in the right. They keep changing it, okay? And then when that's debunked, you know what? It's no longer, it wasn't that. It was the egg weight that gave him power and put the shape. Well, if it's the shape from the egg weight, you would think it's the open palm, right? So now they're back to the palm. That's what they're back to. My question is this. If that's the case, why wasn't there any damage made in the first fight? Because he was palming him way more in the first fight. And why did Wilder come out and say this guy has feather fists? You can't even punch. Why did he say that when he was hitting him with an open palm in the first fight? Does anybody have an answer to that?
Yeah,
I think
nobody
he- I-
likes getting bitch slapped, I guess.
I think he hit him. I think he hit him with Stormbreaker.
Oh wow!
And guys in the chat keep bringing up Margarito. Like, this is not the same thing, man. Just not the
First
same
off,
thing,
Margarito
man.
didn't
Stop
cheat.
it.
First off,
Exactly.
Margarito didn't cheat, okay? It went to court. They didn't find anything. Nassim Richards didn't show up. He changed his story numerous times. We covered it really good.
If you don't mind, can you go more in detail with that? Because
Please,
like,
Dave, please.
when you say he didn't cheat, like what exactly do we have to? Because there's people that still talk about it like if it's a fact.
He didn't use plaster of Paris. They used old gauze. There was no proof that he used plaster of Paris in his hand wraps.
Right. Here's another thing.
Well, let's put it this way. A lot of people in the chat don't know about your extensive stuff that you did years ago. So can you kind of break it down for us right now?
I mean, when we showed up at court, we wanted to see whether or not, and I think a lot of folks don't know this. I was actually there. You know, I was actually one of the guys that was watching the hand wrap. I went to his training camp. I did all that other stuff. You know, when Nassim, here's the thing though, Nassim has a history. He had a history of calling certain things about hand wraps to fuck up their game. It was a psychological thing. You know what I mean? You can't throw nothing on Nassim because it's a great move. You know, there are certain things that a coach is going to do to get the upper hand. It's the hurt game. We went out. The commission, they put it in a bag. They showed up. They did they sent it to a lab. They came back with nothing. All they can come back with was a foreign object. Well, what was the foreign object? Was it a substance? Was it a hard substance? None of that. Okay. Now they asked for the certain key people, witnesses, to show up to court. Guess what? They never showed up. They asked again, show up to court. Guess what? They never showed up again. And their affidavit, they changed their story numerous times. So, you know, I won't argue with people that go like, oh, you know, well, Cotto, it was on HBO. It was very irresponsible for HBO to do that, okay? We had Antonio Margarito on. We interviewed him. I asked him really tough questions, which was great because he stayed on. I thought, honestly, I didn't think he was going to stay on very long. And like I asked him, why didn't you not sue HBO? And he said, because it would cost a lot. I didn't have that money to do that. I didn't want to draw something out. Now, when people go, oh, he was suspended during the investigation, which was a year.
Yeah. And it led to Javier Capetillo getting fired just off of public pressure. Margarito felt he had to distance himself from him. But it was not a Luis Resto situation.
No.
Not even close.
Do you think if he was guilty of what he was being accused of, you think he'd only be out a year? He'd probably have a lifetime ban.
Absolutely. Like Luis Resto.
Yeah, he was never convicted of a crime, which that's a crime. He was never convicted of a crime. He basically, you know what, he was ridiculed and he was he was pushed out of the sport in a lot of ways because HBO broadcast something that wasn't true.
Let me say this. Let me ask you this, Dave. One more thing before we move on. The one image that people have in their head about the Mosley fight, at least as far not the fight itself, but the backstage and the unwrapping, was the way he first described it. Right. Well, what he said was, they removed the wrapping and then it was like a brick fell off. Like, so are you saying he changed that story? Did he change that?
I heard him change it during an interview one time. He said, "Oh, it wasn't a brick. No, that didn't come out."
No, but like that's the image people have in their head. It was like a brick fell off.
Yeah.
Well, the commission actually kept the sample of what was taken from the glove, and it was used gauze.
I heard him being interviewed after that. May he rest in peace. He's not with us no more. But I heard him being interviewed after that, and he recanted the brick statement.
Right.
Okay. So now, could it be? And it's just in the sake of me playing the devil's advocate here, okay? Because to be honest, I'm still a little skeptical. But can old gauze be dangerous? Right? Can it harden? Can it?
Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
Just really quick. I mean, if you've been in the fight game, if you've actually sparred and you've done all that stuff, I've wet gauze before. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've hand wrapped. I've never. I've seen it get hardened. Now it depends on how you wrap the gauze, the tape, and everything. That's different. You know what I mean? But, the tape is always supposed to secure your knuckles, your hand, your wrist, so it doesn't break. So to even say it's a brick, I mean, if you felt a hand wrap, yeah, it's pretty tight. You know what I mean? So, but what HBO was showing was like, blood was on there. Like, how could it seep through? I mean, the dye from the glove itself.
Right.
It seeps through.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
The hand wrap in itself is hard. If you would have punched someone with a hand wrap, it would hurt immensely.
Especially
that's why there was bare knuckle fighting. Yeah, bare knuckle fighting was very dangerous because it's like a cast. So that I mean, honestly, anybody says, well, if you hand wrap, it's gonna be soft.
No.
Well, where the fuck have you went? Because they're wrapping your hand wrong.
That hurts. That hurts more than a bare fist.
Yeah, and the problem too is that different commissions have different rules in terms of how much tape you can put around the knuckles and where you can put the tape. So it's quite common that people have to de-wrap their hands before putting on the gloves, and that's what happened in that case.
They made
Trinidad Hopkins too.
Naseem Richardson made Trinidad re-wrap too.
He did,
right?
He did,
and accused him of the same thing.
Accused him of the exact same thing.
That's
really quick.
And that was the worst. That was the worst damn rap I ever seen, too.
Well, just to clarify, the rapping that they did was only illegal in New York. It wasn't illegal anywhere else, right?
Yeah.
So it was a loophole, and you could fuck with a dude's head like that. But I just want to confirm, even with the fucked up hand wraps, in a recent interview, Hopkins did say like his wrist was swollen up from blocking the hook from Trinidad, so that motherfucker could punch.
He can hit.
And William Joppy too came out later and was like, "I've never been hit so hard," and he had casts in his hand. No. Tito just hit extremely hard.
Right.
They was all hating on my boy.
Hopkins blocked them. You didn't. That's what happened. You just got your ass whooped. Is what happened. Okay. It's like Centron coming out years later. That's why Margarito beat me. Like, nah, bro.
Yeah.
But hey, I wanna proceed to this. Tyson versus Jones. Simple question. Okay, is it gonna be, whether we like it or not, the most popular, the biggest fight of the year? Right? Blood. Is it gonna be the biggest fight of the year in your opinion? Even these two old men.
The biggest fight of the year.
Like in terms of popularity.
In terms of popularity, yes, absolutely. Because the fighters today, they're just not taking advantage of their social media opportunities because none of these guys, they lack swag and everything. They don't have no personalities. So, yeah, these guys are still the stars, man. They could still get more of the fans to come and watch them fight. And we never know if Mike Tyson is going to have one of them moments where he just snaps out like he did in that little Boosie interview and just put that heat on Roy Jones' ass. Next thing you know, Roy Jones is asleep. Now, I don't want to see none of these old brothers get hurt now. I don't want to see them get hurt. But I do think if it gets heated up in there, I have Tyson taking Jones out. I go with what Teddy Atlas said. I agree totally.
It's gonna be a war. It's gonna be a war. I'm gonna knock him out.
Go ahead.
I know Teddy Atlas. I know y'all love, especially B really love. All y'all love Teddy Atlas. I know y'all love Teddy Atlas, man. I'm with him on that one. He used to feel Tyson hitting them hits. Tyson he might let loose on Roy Jones, and Roy Jones got a glass chin too. He don't have the punch resistance that he used to have.
And he's also lost his most valuable skill sets, which were his timing and his speed.
He needed that.
I'm worried.
Because of his style, he relied on his those attributes, those same attributes you mentioned, his timing and his speed. He needed that stuff because Roy Jones did everything wrong. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't the most technically sound guy because he didn't have to be because he was so much more blessed than everybody else. But he don't got that no more. So a combination from Mike Tyson, he might even hit Roy with a 3-piece. If Roy, I don't know, man. I just don't see Roy being able to take it on the chin. If Mike Tyson hit him with full impact on the chin, it's over. I just hope he gets
we saw Andrew Macronelli hit him with full contact on the chin in 2015.
Let's do this. Go ahead, Amilcar. Is this fight going to be the biggest fight of the year in terms of popularity? Whether we like it or not as hardcore fans, it's going to be the fight that's going to get the most attention with the public this year.
I think it's going to get a lot of attention. And what I've noticed with the marketing that they've done is that they're bringing in the old school people that really liked Jones and Tyson, along with the people that want to see Nate Robinson, right? fight Jake Paul. So it's like you're bringing in all these, kind of peripheral elements that are kind of around boxing, but not really in it. And it's going to create that kind of, it's going to create that popularity for the event. So it very well could do very big numbers, especially considering I really doubt that they're going to charge like $89.99 for this pay-per-view. I don't know what the price is, but I'm sure it's not that.
I think it's $50.
There you go.
All right. Okay, $50. And Joe Habib, will this be the biggest fight? Is Tyson going to prove that even in 2020, he's the biggest boxing star in the sport?
This is going to be monumental for this year. all the sadness and negativity we had to deal with in 2020, guess what? This is going to wash it all away. This is a great event. This is a great event.
Is Tyson a bigger star than any boxer today, even in 2020, B?
Unequivocally, yes. Because of that podcast. That podcast is the best podcast around.
Okay.
I like that podcast.
I hear you. Okay, all right. And Chief Funky, what do you think, man? Biggest fight of the year?
I'm going to have to agree with these guys. I think so. I really do think so. I mean, we've had a couple of pay-per-views already since boxing has been back. Not such great numbers. I know there's some people out there that like to say that they were, but they're not. I mean, let's just be honest about it. These two guys here were big stars in their heyday, especially Mike Tyson. And I've already gotten a ton of calls from casuals asking me about the fight. So, and now that I know that it's going to be $50, like, oh, this thing it's going to blow everything out the water, I think.
408. Well, what are your thoughts, man?
But I think it's interesting. We started the show off talking about Vinny Paz, who fought Roy Jones for that. and here we are watching Roy Jones fight this year. Is Vinny going to fight too next year? I'm not so keen on this because I think the whole undercard is a big circus. It kind of feels like they're sprinkling, shit on top of a shit show that 2020 was. For me, my favorite exhibition fight was Arce versus Chavez. I thought that was extremely entertaining. So I'm going to be judging this fight in terms of entertainment factor. I'm going to see how it entertains me versus what we just saw recently that got no love. That fight got no love on DAZN, but I was really impressed by that fight. Let's talk about the WBC having these social media belts. I mean, it's going to be good for the sport of boxing, but
BLM belt,
yeah. But as far as a hardcore boxing fan, let's not ignore the fact that they're coming up with all these random belts, like the social media star belt that Jake Paul has.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's crazy, and they'll be fighting for a Black Lives Matter belt.
They should come out with a Lebanese belt.
So for Beeb, right? Yeah, there
Yeah,
we go.
I want to fight for the Lebanese title.
Hey, Ruff. What do you
Yes,
think,
sir.
man? I know you don't like this fight, and you were not excited at all. Has any excitement hit you the closer
No.
we're getting to this? Any nostalgia, anything that's hitting you, any
No,
butterflies?
and I gotta disagree with everybody on the panel right now. Listen, I haven't really seen the advertisement or the push like on ESPN, Fox, anybody else that's showing sports, even DAZN. There's really not a big push. There's only a few people. Like even like the casual fans are asking about it. Like, hey, is it a good fight? Can we watch this? I just don't see it happening. Honestly, I think it's gonna tank pretty bad, man. And because it's more of like a celebrity match, in terms of being a real match. And I think that people are already catching on to that and stuff. Even look, here's the thing. Great move having the YouTubers on. But when DAZN did it, it only cost at that time either it was going to be free or it was going to be $10, right? And let's be honest, the people that watch that guy on YouTube, they live with mommy and daddy. Can they afford $50? I highly doubt it. I just don't see it happening and stuff. So, no, I think it's going to tank. To tell you the truth, I just don't think it's going to do very well and stuff. And I'll tell you another reason why, because tonight at midnight, the Call of Duty, the new game's coming out. So a lot of kids are going to be spending that their feria on that, which is like $70, $80 and stuff. So, yeah.
That's your allowance money? That's going to go to
That's the allowance money right now. That's like mommy and daddy going, all right, let me throw that in there right now as a Christmas present. But, I'm not going to argue with anybody about who's going to win that fight. I think that Tyson Mike Tyson takes the fight and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't think it's going to do very well. Even with $50 with the COVID thing, I think it's going to be very difficult to sell it because they haven't pushed it. They haven't. And here's another thing. Baldu Jack is fighting a guy out of Stockton. I don't know if G-Funk, because me and G-Funk are like in the same area and all that.
Back to Bully.
Yeah, dude, he doesn't have a chance.
No.
But one of my buddies is good friends with them. He's like, Dave, I'm telling you, I'm like, how much do you watch boxing, bro? He doesn't have a chance. He doesn't have a prayer.
Well, let me ask this to Blood. Blood, is this fight gonna tank, or is it gonna like Dave's saying it's gonna tank? You're mute, I think. Yeah, you're mute.
I think the fight's going to do okay. Is that what you're asking me?
I think Dave's confident it's going to tank.
I think it'll do okay. Yeah, I think the fight will be straight, man. Is that what you're asking me? Is it gonna, yeah, it's going to do all right. It'll do all right. For $50, I'm not really sure. It's hard to tell, man, because this is a different era too. It's still a different era. A lot of people ain't really familiar with Mike Tyson and Roy Jones like that, but I think it's going to generate some interest among the hardcore fight fans. But I don't think it's going to. Will it do 200,000? I doubt it. That's my opinion on it. I don't think it'll do. For me, I set the standard as 200,000 because to me the record is 4.2 million at pay-per-view, and to me the standard now is just to make the 0.2 million. You know what I'm saying? If they could make the 0.2 million, that seems to be successful. I think Tank Davis, didn't he do over 200,000 or something like that? He did over 200,000. I think it's going to do maybe 200,000, maybe around something like that.
What fight did over 200,000?
The Tank Davis. Tank Davis.
So let me ask you, see, that's my thing. I want to ask you guys. Was there a lot of push for that fight? Like, was there a lot of promotion for that fight?
Well, yes and no. I mean, but like here's the thing, bro. I mean, I'm seeing Mike Tyson interviews with like, you know, on ESPN all over the place, man. Russell Wilson's interviewing him. It's getting a lot of views. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even agree with Blood saying no one really knows who Mike Tyson is.
Everybody knows who Mike Tyson is.
My sister asked me about the fight. You know, like if my sister's asking me about the fight, that means it's around. That means people know about it.
My
They all
grandmother.
know
My
him, but they
grandmother.
don't pay. He doesn't have the place in the fight fans' heart that he has in our heart. They know who he is. Some people just know him as the crazy ass guy in hot boxing.
Right. I was gonna say though, blood. What I was gonna say to D Style and everybody is that my grandmother asked about Mike Tyson, and she's dead. She's in the grave and all that. So that tells you that everybody knows who she is and stuff.
Did she also vote for Joe Biden?
Yeah, she was one of the voters and stuff. But what I was gonna say though was like with Dave from Forward Dave and all that, we're like big Howard Stern fans. Even the Whack Pack, I think. In terms of the Whack Pack, when they had their fights on pay-per-view, I think it's going to do that has better numbers what Tyson and Jones is going to do. To tell you the truth, I don't know, Dave. What do you think,
Dave? You know, on that Monday morning after this Tyson fight, if it's a failure in terms of numbers, kind of like this Leo Santa Cruz fight, 200,000 was not great. Will they blame this new network, Thriller? It's called Thriller. It's a new social media type network.
Right.
I mean, is it like Rock Nation trying to put on a big show? We saw what they did in the sport of boxing. You know, will we be blaming this network? You know, should they have found a different person to put this event on?
Hey, we're gonna move on here. I want to talk about Oscar De La Hoya here, Golden Boy.
Yeah.
Okay, they've lost their cash cow. They've lost Canelo. All right. I think it's more likely, speaking of old men fighting, that he's going to come back and fight now, apparently. Corte wants a piece of him. He wants revenge.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, they're going to be like, I don't know what you guys think of that, but is De La Hoya in serious trouble? Dave Foroy, I want to start with you. Is he in serious trouble here?
Well, he's in serious trouble with me if he fights Maidana, because Sergio Martinez is his height and weight and looking real good for a 45-year-old man. And I'm not sure why he wants to take on little, Maidana. I see that as a little guy, an overweight little guy. Is he in trouble? No, he'll rebound. The Golden Boy will find a way to rebound and find a new star. That's one thing he's excellent at, is cultivating fighters and helping them create their brand.
Joe Habib, what do you think, man? Is Golden Boy in trouble? Do you agree that he'll bounce back and he'll be all right?
I think that they lost a lot of momentum now, and I think they continue to lose a lot of momentum. You know, I like Ryan Garcia. I like Virgil Ortiz. But Ryan Garcia seems to be the new star out of that Golden Boy stable. And I don't think that he's going to stay undefeated. I think he's going to lose a couple of times. And once that happens, I think they're in serious trouble, to be honest with you. I don't think they've maintained what they once had. It all started when they lost all those Al Heyman fighters. And then they were able to retain Canelo, and that was what was bringing in the money for them.
Yes.
So I just don't see them progressing here. I see them declining. And I think they've steadily declined over the years, and I think they're going to continue to do so.
Yeah, I got to tell you that they used to have a good amount of the fighters, and they've definitely lost a lot.
They lost a ton of fighters.
I'm not saying they're going to go out of business, but they've definitely lost a lot. Blood. Yeah. Do you think Golden Boy's on its last legs, or you think he'll bounce back?
Golden Boy's on his last leg. It's been on his last leg ever since Oscar De La Hoya couldn't get it right with his cocaine habit, okay? He fell asleep at the wheel, and they took all his fighters. He spent all his time in rehab. He's been a mess ever since the late 90s. He's been on that cocaine shit. You know, Oscar De La Hoya, I've never had any respect for him. I don't like him. And he's already a millionaire. He's worth like $300 million. I looked him up. He's made his money. Go take your ass on. The reason why Canelo didn't want to have to deal with his bitchy ass is because he ruined his reputation. You know, we could sit up here and we could play like, this, we don't have to address the elephant in the room, is that, the guy's a weirdo, man. He had got caught with strippers and doing all kind of transsexual, wearing pumps and dressing like a pump, wearing sissy and snorting cocaine and putting utensils in his booty hole, and now he wants no, I mean, it's the truth. It's not even a joke, man. This is true shit. You know, it's not even. I mean, he did all of this shit, and he expect fighters to roll with him, gladiators, warriors to roll on his team. That's some bullshit right there. So Canelo had to get away from that. Plus, he was like he was doing bad business. He was trying to you know, feed Canelo a bunch of bullshit ass lies. And when Canelo should have known what was on his contract, come to find out, Canelo didn't even know what was on his own fucking contract. All right, so he was sitting up there listening to this man's pipe dreams, knowing that he's dealing with a cokehead. Okay, multiple DUIs, statutory rapes, you name it. This guy's done it all. He's a fucking scumbag to me. Anybody who could go out there after putting cocaine in their nose and drinking all night and fucking around with utensils and shit and driving the road and put people's lives at risk, fuck them. So he did the right thing. And if Ryan Garcia was smart, he'd get his little ass out of there too, because he's starting to look like the new Oscar De La Hoya. You know what I'm saying? I understand he's done a lot for certain fighters and stuff, man. But that's something that don't go with boxing.
He has it though.
Like that don't go with boxing.
I don't. Yeah,
Hold on.
I agree. I don't think he really has.
Because I don't want to like be talking over each other. But go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
Well, first off, I think that we need to point out this. I mean, what Blood is saying. First off, let's correct this. He's not. He doesn't make decisions for Golden Boy. He's the face of Golden Boy. He's not the CEO of Golden Boy. You know, so a lot of times, like everybody's blaming him, like he's making decisions. But if you actually talk to the CEO of Golden Boy, he'll even tell you, Oscar's just the face. He doesn't make any decisions. You know, that's why when Richard Schaefer and Al Heyman showed up when he was in rehab with this paperwork, Oscar was, he was fucked up. He could have signed it. But what Oscar did is turn it over to Eric Gomez, who is the CEO of Golden Boy. And that's how they caught on to it. So, I mean, I agree with that, but then I don't agree with it because at the end of the day, we're blaming the wrong guy, you know? And, you know, here's the thing with Canelo. Canelo didn't like the backdoor deal with DAZN. I agree with Canelo. They shouldn't have done that, you know? When Golden Boy decided to do that backdoor deal behind his back, it pissed him off and stuff like that, you know? In all honesty, Canelo doesn't need Golden Boy, doesn't need DAZN, doesn't need Eddie Hearns, doesn't need anybody. He can do it all himself now because he is the cash cow, you know? But is Golden Boy going to disappear? Do you really see him, you know, fading into the wind? I don't see it. I mean, remember this. Everybody thought that Showtime was done and over when PBC got to deal with Fox, or when Al Heyman got to deal with Showtime. Everybody wrote off Golden Boy. Golden Boy's got 80 fighters on the roster. There's still guys to develop on that roster of Golden Boy. So no, I don't see any of the effect of what Golden Boy and Canelo leaving them. It's just a big hit. And honestly, I think it's a headache that they're finally gonna have to go, like, I don't have to deal with this anymore, you know, because they didn't lose their deal with DAZN and Eddie Hearn. They still have it. So
like, I kind of get your point. How I just want to kind of get some clarification. So let's talk about, you know, like Jerry Jones is the owner of the Cowboys, but he also plays as CEO, right? But he still owns the Cowboys. But you have other teams, like let's say the Patriots, like Robert Kraft is the owner, but Bill Belichick is the CEO. But at the end of the day, it's still Robert Kraft's team, even though he doesn't play the role of CEO. Like, there still has to be some responsibility on De La Hoya as the owner of CEO. Are you saying
it's never been Oscar's? But here's the thing, though. If you go back to the beginning, dude, he's the poster boy. He's always been.
Yeah, but that's also important, though.
Is he the ghost owner? Are you saying he's not really the owner? He's playing the owner, or is he the owner?
Okay, it's like if you own it. Look, like the KFC. If you own a franchise, you pay them a certain fee, right, to use their name. So that's what Golden Boy is. They pay him a certain fee. You know what I mean? I mean, he does whatever he wants. Like, I'm not going to argue about all the shit that he does is kind of crazy and all that. I mean, he comes down over here to Northern California, the nearby where I live at. He goes to a winery, and I heard like he fucking, you know, gets all plastered and everything, does a bunch of crazy shit, you know? But this is what so the company itself, They're just using his name. That's what Al Heyman and they were trying to do. Think about it. They were trying to get him to sign off a name. So let's say Al Heyman and them actually succeeded that. Would you still blame Oscar De La Hoya? It's his name. It's his face.
Whose money was used to start the promotional company, though? I'm sure
Golden Boy.
I'm sure he
I
put
just
money
think
in.
like we can't say he's not responsible for anything. You know, if
I
he's gonna
agree,
play-
D-Star.
like with Blood's point, right? What he's saying is
He didn't negotiate the Canelo thing.
no, but that's not
He
what I'm
didn't.
saying.
He didn't negotiate the DAZN.
No, but here's what I'm trying to say. I'm gonna let you respond. This is what I'm trying to say. So, and I don't want to put words in Blood's mouth, and if I'm saying it wrong, he can say. But why would a fighter it's gonna discourage fighters to associate themselves with Golden Boy because of Oscar's, habits, let's just say, and recreational activities that are very public, right? That's not gonna regardless of who runs it and who's the CEO. Some fighters just want nothing to do with that, right? Isn't that like a fair thing to say?
Well, I mean, look. What he did. Well, not what he did. What the guys that got involved with Oscar, what they did was brilliant. They bought Barrera, Bernard Hopkins, Shane Mosley, guys that were involved in the sport. Where are they at now?
They're gone.
Yeah,
They're gone. Where's Golden Boy East? Like
That was B-Hop's little program.
Where's he at?
You said that he's the face of Golden Boy, and that's all he is the face. And he's a
Right.
bad face because he's a cocaine addict. He can participate in the statutory rape. He's just a bad face. He sets a bad image. He has DUIs, cocaine, utensils in the butt. And plus, this thing about him being the pay-per-view star, I'm looking at the 55 best pay-per-views now. And other than the Gennady Golovkin fight that did 1.3, he doesn't have no standout numbers other than Floyd being on the B side of Floyd Mayweather.
But here's the thing, though, Blood.
He's not even the top 20 or 30 nowhere. So
But here's the thing, though, Blood. Here's the thing, though, Blood. Did HBO defame him like they did to Margarito? No. What they did is they put this Barbie on top of a pedestal and they pushed it. Why? So if anybody's gonna blame, about Oscar De La Hoya's past, you got to blame HBO because they didn't do their job. What they did is ran on another guy that didn't speak any English and couldn't defend himself instead of Oscar De La Hoya.
Well, Golden Boy is a promotional company. Sorry, D-Star.
No, I'm just saying I just think those are like the Margarito situation and how they treated Oscar.
Well, De La Hoya had statutory rape charges on him. He had car accidents.
Hold on. Well, let me do this. Beeb, go ahead and give us your thoughts on. Did you already give us your? Oh, no, never mind. You already went. No, never mind.
Yeah,
okay, you don't go again. Okay, you're not gonna double dip. Milcar. Well, what are your thoughts on this, man? Golden Boy. Are they in trouble in your opinion?
I think they're in big trouble. In fact, I was discussing this with David yesterday on our show. I think that Golden Boy at this point is on the edge of being a top 5 promoter in the sport of boxing. For years, they relied on HBO license fees to kind of survive, and then license fees now from DAZN. But if you look at it from Canelo's perspective, the only value De La Hoya really brings is his ability to be a name and to get on the TV and, talk to Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman and get onto these kind of mainstream shows. But at this point, Canelo doesn't really need that. He doesn't need to be paying a middleman to promote himself. Like, there's no reason for him to have a contract with Golden Boy and then for Golden Boy to have a contract with a network. He can just deal with a contract himself. So, I named a few promoters out there yesterday that I think are better promoters, and I would even say De La Hoya's. You could make a strong case that he's a shady promoter, in fact. But I just don't see him I see him as barely a top 5 promoter in the sport of boxing at this point, and there's no reason for Canelo to be associated with him.
And G Funky, what are your thoughts, man? Do you what does your gut tell you? Is Golden Boy in trouble, or they'll be all right?
I mean, I'm leaning more towards they're in trouble. because I mean, if you lose, the guy who's pretty much the most popular fighter in the sport, you lose him. Obviously that's not good. But on the positive side for Golden Boy, if they learn from their mistakes and what they've done here, Ryan Garcia is a guy who's starting to become, a popular guy amongst the little chiquitas. We talked about that last night. And also, Virgil Ortiz on the flip side is a guy who's not really out there like a Ryan Garcia is on social media doing all these crazy things like he does. So he's got two good young studs there that he could possibly rebuild with. It's just a matter of if he can learn, if not just Oscar, but the company overall. If they could just learn from what they've done wrong, then they should be okay. But history has kind of showed that that's not the way it's going to go. But we'll see, man. But I'm leaning more towards yes, they are in trouble, and they're not the only ones that have guys out there in the front, promoting their promotion that has things. And I mean, I agree. Oscar has done some stupid things, but I mean, look at Mayweather. He's done some stupid things also, So
Not like Oscar.
No, not like Oscar. No,
Ain't none of that dick in the booty activity that Oscar been up to.
No, definitely not that. But let's not forget the woman beater, Ruben Guerrero thing, So
wow, yeah. Hey, Beeb, I know you wanted to add something. What did you want to add?
I think I forgot what I was going to say. I just think that the way the whole situation with Canelo was handled, whoever the promotional company bears his name, so he's going to be forever attached to that. So that he's going to be guilty by association. So whenever someone hears the word Golden Boy, automatically they think of Oscar De La Hoya. So whether or not he negotiated that contract or not, he was the guy that was in the headlines. It was him talking about the situation about Canelo. He was the spokesperson for the whole thing. And I think a lot of fighters are going to see how that whole thing was, done and how it played out. The Golden Boy, the company, did backdoor Canelo. And anyone that sees that is going to have to say to themselves, if they're a fighter, can I trust this company? Because there was no way the relationship with Canelo could have gone on with Golden Boy because the trust was broken. It was never going to be repaired at that point. I think moving forward, because of the way that situation with Canelo ended, it's going to be a deterrent for new fighters, up-and-coming fighters who are just coming up. They're not going to want to sign with a company like Golden Boy after seeing what they do with Canelo. You don't lose the biggest star in the sport. The biggest star in the sport doesn't walk away from you if you're a reputable promotional company. It just doesn't happen.
All right, Dave, I'm going to give you a chance to I think you're the Lone Ranger here. I got to give you a chance to respond. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
I mean, respond with what? Like I said, if you look at Oscar's past, he's not a good business guy. He was getting screwed over when he was a fighter. He was getting screwed over by a car salesman, okay? Didn't even make his millions. Didn't even figure it out until later, and going, forward on that. I mean, look, I remember going down to San Jose when Robert Guerrero was going to fight Marcos Maidana, if everybody remembers that, and it got canceled. I remember asking Eric Gomez, who was not even considered the CEO at the time. It was Richard Schaefer. But I was asking Eric, I don't remember what it was. It's on film. I just don't remember what I asked him. But he answered me whatever question I asked. He goes, I asked him something about what Oscar said, and he goes, don't listen to Oscar. And everybody in that company, when I would ask him something, they would say the same. That was the same response. Don't ask Oscar, because Oscar doesn't have a say. He did it. And at the beginning, I was like with you guys. I was like, oh, man, wait a minute. He's the face. He's the guy. But then you start talking to other people that are involved with Golden Boy, guys that were doing like solo boxeo, guys that were doing outside, events. They would all say the same. No, I don't talk to Oscar. Oscar doesn't make the decision. This guy makes the decision. This guy makes the decision. So again, going back, where is Golden Boy going to go anywhere? No, I think they're okay. Losing Canelo, I think they were anticipating it. I think they saw it. I think they knew they fucked up. They did a backdoor deal, And a lot of times that we see a lot of promoters, Cedric Kushner is not. It's not going to happen to them. What to a Golden Boy, what happened to Cedric? That's not going to happen. Everybody's been writing off PBC. Everybody was writing off even Lou DiBella. Lou DiBella's like down to the last drip of what he's going to do, but he's still around. He's managing fighters. So I think we're just always too quick to jump to say this guy's done or it's not going to happen anymore. That's my opinion.
I think
also,
but I think they're done as like a leading promoter, though.
I don't think they're going to be a force. I don't think they're going to be a force anymore like 2 months for.
They still got Ryan.
No,
look, they got Ryan Garcia.
agree.
If they can make the numbers with Ryan Garcia, they're still in the play. They got Virgil Ortiz. They're still in the play. I mean, there's still guys in that roster that they can make. They can still push and stuff like that. So I'm not going to jump on that right away. Like I didn't jump on the whole Showtime. Like Showtime made a big comeback with their schedule of what's happening with the pandemic. Everybody wrote them off. When Golden Boy, when HBO waved their goodbyes to everybody, which I was predicting that they were going to say, okay. I mean, it was a year before because I was like, okay, 2 more years. Instead, they did it that same year. Because that was the talks and stuff. Which everybody's like Showtime. I'm like, no. I think what Showtime's been doing is been sitting back by telling everybody what you guys. Everybody's believing the OTT is going to kill us. What are we seeing now? ESPN Plus has not stepped it up, and neither has DAZN. Everything's leading back to Showtime and pay-per-view.
Well, Golden Boy's not with Showtime.
No, but it could end up being there.
Right, I hear you, man. Hey,
They
shout
did
out.
a lot of bad business, man. And then let's just talk about this too. Another problem with Golden Boy, and it's not a problem maybe for you guys, but it's a problem for me. Is that they said some racist ass shit about them emails that time. They didn't want to address it. They never did. So what? Maybe everyone is not important to everybody, but he lost a whole fan base when they did that shit. And Bernard Hopkins, a lot of people lost respect for Bernard Hopkins too, because he went in and he acted like a puppet for Golden Boy instead of speaking out on the issues and saying, hey, we're not affiliated with these emails. It don't matter if he worked with Golden Boy or not. It had your fucking name on it. Speak out against it. But he
Is Golden Boy in any better position than Mayweather Promotions at this point? Like David, you mentioned the fact that Golden Boy has Ryan Garcia. At this point, Tank Davis is bigger than Ryan Garcia. And there are a lot of promoters out there that have a better roster of top level fighters right now than Golden Boy. If they're staking their future on 2 guys, Ortiz and Garcia, I just don't see that as being enough to maintain a status of top tier promoter in the sport.
Really quick, shout out to A-Rod, Black and Brown Boxing in the chat. How are you doing? Buddy Asis, Philly Irish, Drew Evil also on here. Shout out to you guys. Check it out. Okay. I mean, obviously, we're all going to have our differences of opinion when it comes to Golden Boy. Some of us feel that they're on their last legs. Some of us feel, hey, don't watch out. They're going to make a comeback. Don't call it a comeback when it happens. We will see. You know what I mean?
Hey, Buddy Access MXP, fuck you too. That's my fucking opinion. You don't like it, go somewhere else, bitch. Point blank. That's my fucking opinion. What you always worried about what I'm crying for anyway, boy? Huh? Take your ass on somewhere.
Well, there you go.
But I agree with Blood. They should have addressed those emails.
Let's get back to 408. What were you going to say?
Yeah, it just looks like we can't agree if Oscar's in trouble or not. But can we agree that Britney Spears is in trouble? Because this week, she's 40 years old, a pop icon, and a judge in Los Angeles court determined she's still too crazy to be in charge of her money.
Wow, that is crazy.
She looks so good. She looks so good right now. You see her dancing on Instagram, though.
Yeah,
she's too crazy to be in charge of her own money.
She's still a beautiful woman.
Yeah, well, we're going to move on from that. I don't give a shit about that. But as far as the fact of boxing, look, man.
Hey, y'all took it somewhere with that Britney Spears shit. Damn. How the fuck she come up in the combo?
Yeah. Let's get back to boxing. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, 408. Big fight
Oh.
coming this weekend. Cal Brook versus Terrence Crawford. Who's winning that fight, in your opinion?
Oh, well, undoubtedly, I think Terrence Crawford is going to continue to shine and show that he's a champion. And but you know what? I really like Kell Brook's career up until he made that bold risk of fighting Triple G. I always think of him as what if? What if he had not taken that? Would he have fought all the other great welterweights? He was the welterweight champ. And it just seemed that one career move he made where it was courageous, of something a real champion would do, it just kind of destroyed his career with the orbital bone injuries and whatnot. He's not shown to be the fighter he once was. So I think this was a little bit of cherry picking on Terrence Crawford's behalf.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you think it's going to be an easy fight for Crawford? How do you think he wins the fight?
I think he wins the fight by a late stoppage. And I definitely think that those eye bones, the eye sockets, are going to have some kind of they're going to take part in that fight. So at some point, he's going to get peppered up enough to have damage to one of the eyes.
Okay, I hear you. All right. Blood boxing. How do you think this fight's going to go, man? Crawford versus Cal Brook.
Man, this is a fire fight, man. I think that Kell Brook is going to really get up for this fight, man. Kell Brook is a very good fighter, and you got to remember, man. You know, I know he has the problems with the detached retinas and all of that stuff, but you know, he's had some time. He's had some time to heal. On Crawford doesn't hit as hard as Errol Spence. He's not as big and strong as Errol Spence or Golovkin. I do believe that it's funny because Crawford is a smaller guy, but he actually has ain't it like a 5-point reach advantage or some shit?
Yeah, he's got a huge reach advantage.
He has a 5-inch reach advantage, man.
Yeah, crazy.
That's something special. Now, the thing is the question I ask is how many southpaws Kell Brook fought? And we know he didn't have success against one of the southpaws in Errol Spence. Does Terrence Crawford mix it up, go from orthodox to southpaw, keep him at a distance, use that reach advantage, man. Try to catch Kell Brook coming in with counters and things like that. Kell Brook, he had his moments against Golovkin and Errol Spence. He's a very good boxer. I think he's going to provide for us a much better fight than Amir Khan did, that's for sure. Terrence Crawford is going to have to actually keep Kell Brook off of him. Let's not forget Kell Brook fought Sean Porter, who's a very strong welterweight, and was able to keep him at bay. I know that Terrence Crawford is a different type of fighter. Now we'll get a chance to find out where Terrence Crawford really fits in this welterweight picture. You know what I'm saying? With a fight against Kell Brook, a guy who's been in there with Sean Porter and Errol Spence. So that'll give us a chance to measure him against a guy who's fought some of the other top welterweights, if you know what I mean. Not sure if he's going to use southpaw, orthodox, mix it up. We'll have to wait and see what happens, man. I think it's a good fight. Terrence Crawford was floored in that fight against that Mean Machine guy, too. I don't care what nobody says. He got floored in that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So we'll have to see what happens, man. It's going to be a good fight.
He got him with a crossover for sure. He fell down. But he did a Milcar. Is this another 100% or like how do you see this one?
Definitely not another 100%. But what I am going to say is that I have 100% certainty in is that Kell Brook is not getting destroyed in this fight. Kell Brook is not. He's got a way better shot than the odds are giving him. I think a lot of people forget that, you know, he went up 2 weight classes to fight Triple G, and yeah, he got fucked up. His face pretty much got cracked. And then in his very next fight, he dropped down 2 weight classes, which is
was it an egg weight though? Was it an egg weight?
Oh,
it wasn't an egg weight. It was all Triple G. But he was doing well at first in that fight, and he actually was doing pretty well on the scorecards at least. And I thought he was doing well in the first half of the Spence fight before he got injured there. And he said that his weight has not fluctuated like it has in the past. He's obviously not coming down in weight like he did for the Errol Spence fight. He said he's been using the pandemic to train really, really hard. He's been on weight, and he's really just been sharpening his skills. So, you know, his only 2 losses are to a middleweight that he had no business fighting, really. I mean, a lot of middleweights didn't want to fight Triple G at that point. He took that fight, if you guys remember, because Chris Eubank Jr. didn't want to fight him.
Right.
And then he went back down and fought who most people consider to be the best welterweight right now. Another thing, too, is, look, Terrence Crawford won his title, WBO title, off of Jeff Horn. And since then, he has not really fought very good welterweights. I mean, he fought an Amir Khan who was absolutely destroyed by Canelo Alvarez before he fought him, right? He struggled, as Blood just said, in the early going against the Mean Machine, Kavalishkis, and got dropped, something that Kavalishkis didn't get credit for. And Kell Brook has what I like about Kell Brook is he's got a skill set, and he always fights in that skill set. He doesn't venture off into areas that he's not really good at. He always fights at his pace, and he always throws punches that are his power, his strong suit punches. So he's got a great jab, he's got a good right hand, and he's also got very good uppercuts. And he's physically strong. He did to Sean Porter something that no one else, including Errol Spence, has done to Sean Porter. He was bossing him for stretches of that fight. He was not getting out-muscled by Sean Porter. He was not getting bullied by Sean Porter. He was standing his ground with a very strong jab and a very powerful right hand, which I believe he calls the brownie or something like that. But yeah, I mean, if anyone's gonna put on money on an underdog this year, and I'm about to do it, I reached out to a few people to figure out where to do it. Is put it on Kell Brook, because the odds right now are ridiculous for a guy with his track record and his skill set.
Put 100% behind that, Amilcar.
Nah, I'm putting 100% on it. It's going to be a good fight.
Well, there we go. I'm giving, Kell Brook a chance. You guys can check that out on my community page. There is the reach and all that good stuff. It is a 5-inch reach advantage for Crawford. Joe Habib, how do you see this fight playing out?
Well, no upsets this week. I have to be honest with you. I like Kell Brook a lot as a fighter. I think he'll be competitive in this fight. I think Crawford does start a little bit slow. Kell Brook is primarily an outside guy. Crawford can do it all. He can fight mid-range, outside. He can go inside. As we all know, he's ambidextrous.
Mm-hmm.
I think at some point Crawford's going to decide to step on the gas a little bit. But Kell Brook is a very durable guy. And if his face does hold up, if he doesn't suffer any injuries, I see him going the distance in this fight. But I just don't think he's going to have enough to stop the late offensive onslaught of Terrence Crawford. I think Terrence Crawford's gonna win this fight probably like somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 rounds to 4, 9 rounds to 3 type decision. So I think Kell Brook will finish this fight. If I was to recommend a bet for this fight, I would take the over. I would take the over. So I think Kell Brook finishes the fight, but I think Terrence Crawford's too much at the end of the day.
All right. Chief Funky. What do you think, man? How's it going to play out?
Well, first I want to say is that I do like this fight, and I agree with a lot of what was said already. I think Brook, he doesn't get a lot of credit for some of the great performances that he's had in his career. Let's just start with Sean Porter. I think Amilcar made some great points. How he, when it got rough, he didn't get away from the roughness. He sat there, wrestled with Sean Porter, got rough with him, and then when it was time to box Sean Porter, he was able to do that and got himself a decision. The Triple G fight, he boxed very well in that fight. Was landing clean combinations on Triple G from the outside, moved around really well. It's just, Triple G was just, too big, too strong for him. Broke his face, and then, they had to stop the fight. And I also agree with the Earl Spence fight, though I think Spence, was clearly taking over that fight as it got late, but he had a lot of good moments in that fight as well. Brook is a hell of a fighter. I love Crawford. I think he's one of the best in the game right now. The ability to switch from orthodox to southpaw is something special. I love when he does that, throws guys off, and it's very hard to prepare for a guy who can do that. And he can get a little rough too. He's not afraid to get into a fight. So, not only can he box, but he's entertaining as well. So, what I see here is I see this being a good fight as long as Brook's face holds up. I think if they get into a firefight and Crawford starts to land clean shots, which I think he will, the face will probably start to swell up a little bit. And, they might have to stop this thing late. I'm thinking maybe like round 11 or something. They might end up, or going into round 11, the corner might just say, that's enough. The eye is too damaged or something, but I do anticipate a good fight here, and I'm really looking forward to it. But I'm going to take Terrence Crawford here in this one.
All right. And 97 rough. How do you think this fight's going to play out, man?
Well, I tell you what, I'm not going to bet against G-Funk. That guy's like every time he bets or anytime he makes a prediction, he's always right. So I'm going to go with G-Funk, bro.
I wish I'm always right, man.
Every time I go against him and say, oh, man, I think that I'm always wrong. No, guys. I mean, I think what everybody's saying is they're right on that. I like Cal Brook. I think that he's going to be a very tough opponent. Seeing what other guys, like for instance, like Devin Haney, even Gervonta Davis against Yorgis Gamboa was in a much better fight than we anticipated, that we thought, right? And I'm kind of seeing the same thing with Cal Brook. Cal Brook is actually a much better fighter than Gamboa. So to me, Cal Brook, he lost to two of the best guys in the world, or considered pound for pound list, right? So does he have a chance? He definitely does. And I agree with the milk card. Like the disrespect, like we talked about on Leaving the Ring, is that it's really kind of bad, man, where they're writing him off like completely. My only thing is about that side of his face. Is it completely healed? Even with the titanium and all that, I don't know. I just don't know if that's going to work. Crawford hasn't showed that he's that dominant as a welterweight. And I said this on Leaving the Ring. I think that Crawford sometimes tends to fight at the level of his opponents. So I'm anticipating a very good fight and a very physical fight that he probably doesn't need to give up. You know what I mean? Like he can box and he can do whatever he wants, but I think he's going to trade it with Cal Brook. And I think that's where Cal Brook's chance is going to be. But I go back again with G-Funk. I just can't bet against that. When G-Funk says, this is what I got, I'm going to go with him.
Hey, look, man. I gotta be really frank with you guys right now. I mean, a couple things, and to your guys' points. Look, when he fought Spence, and he did talk about this, he said, "I have to worry about the 10-pound rehydration clause. I don't have to worry about that this time." You know what I mean? He did say that to your credit, but that's the last thing I'm going to give him credit. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to tell you right now that Crawford's going to beat the shit out of Cal Brook. Okay, it's going to be competitive for 4 or 5 rounds, and it's going to look, and then he's going to figure him out, and then he's going to start peppering him away and just simply outclass him. Okay, that's what I think is going to happen. Cal Brooks hasn't been the same since he moved up to fight, Triple G. I mean, yes, of course, I get it, but I just think that was a big mistake doing that. And he hasn't fought a welterweight since the Spence fight. If he was a full-fledged welterweight, wouldn't he already be fighting at welterweight? Why is he all of a sudden going to welterweight to fight Crawford? I understand that this could be a moment for him to revive his career. Beating Crawford will do wonders for the legacy of Cal Brook and put him on the road to maybe get that rematch and revenge to fight Errol Spence. But I don't think it's going to happen. Okay. And yes, of course, he's a better fighter than Mean Machine, but we don't really know how good Mean Machine is. You know what I mean? We could just compare the Crawford fight. And I got to be honest, man, outside of that flash knockdown and a couple of spots, I mean, Crawford really, it was a very convincing win, and he stopped him. I came away from that fight saying, yeah, if he fought Mean Machine 10 times, he would beat him 10 times. That's how I felt after that fight was over. I think when the guys are ranked high in the pound for pound list, we expect them to be flawless and, this flawless victory syndrome. Like, nobody's flawless in victories. And Crawford's just not that guy. He loves to fight and stuff. And with a guy like Brook, if we know that Brook is more dangerous than Mean Machine, then Crawford knows that. Like, if we know that, he knows that. And I think we're going to see the Crawford that fought Posto. He's going to be boxing him. Okay, he's going to pick his spots, and he's going to outbox him, man. And then he's going to be putting shots together, and both sides of his face are fucked up. I don't think this fight's going to be anywhere near as close as some of you think.
Really?
Well, if it's the Crawford that fought Postal, doesn't it go to distance then?
It can go, but the problem is the damage on his face. And he has to be killing himself to make this weight. I know he's verbally saying he feels fine, but if he felt fine at welterweight, wouldn't he already be fighting at welterweight?
I know that, but Brook doesn't fight like Benavidez, or he doesn't fight like the Green Machine, who put pressure on Crawford. I just don't see that happening.
It doesn't matter how he fights, because Crawford's going to adjust to however he fights.
Let's just take the over. Let's take the over here. Let's take the over here. Let's get paid, everybody.
What's the over, B? I'm curious. I haven't even
looked.
I'll
have to look it up.
Well, while Book looks for that, I got to say, I mean, everyone has
call the bookie right now.
Cal Brook is a solid fighter, man. I just think Crawford's a whole nother level.
So what are you calling, D-Style? What are you saying? It's going to be an early stoppage, or?
I think no, not necessarily. I said it's. I don't think I called what it was, but yesterday on the show I said either late round stoppage or a decision. Okay.
Well, I think that's where everybody's at, because I'm looking like 10th round. I think that Crawford stops him.
People aren't saying is that out of his last 8 fights, he stopped 7 of his opponents. Like, this idea that Crawford takes everybody to the distance. The only one that went the distance was Postal. Nobody stops Postal.
Yeah, but D-Style, let's look at his opponents, though, too. I mean, none of those guys are top-tier welterweights, nor have they ever been top-tier welterweights. I look at Devin Haney's
opponents, and he's not stopping them, and they're way worse than Crawford's opponents. Like,
no, I mean, I'm not denying the fact that he's a great boxer, but I'm just saying, if you look at the results, he should be knocking out those guys or finishing them in the late rounds, every last one of them.
I know, but here's my thing. Like, we're discrediting Postal. Postal went through with the distance with Crawford, with Taylor, Ramirez. I mean,
no, I'm not discrediting him, Dave, but that was at 140.
No, I'm just saying that.
I'm talking about welterweights.
No. Well, what I'm saying is that, first of all, when Crawford stops Brook, which I believe is the most likely scenario, okay, you're going to say the same thing in his next fight. You're going to say, well, who has he stopped? I mean, who's he fought? Like, broken down, washed up Cal Brook.
No, I'd never say that.
Those are the things people are going to be saying, okay? Yeah. This guy's not going to get full credit for this win.
I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that.
Well, we're on the over-under is 9 rounds. The over-under is 9 rounds. We got to take the over here.
I'm taking the over.
We get -118.
Come on, I got.
Look, if we're on the panel picking Crawford to stop Brook, I mean, what does that say?
I said it was a cherry pick, but I want to say this: if the result of the fight on Monday is that Crawford can't get him out, I don't think he's going to get shit on from the boxing community the way Devin Haney was this past week, because Cal Brook he's still a he's a champion. He's a special fighter too. He's got it in him.
Yeah, and he's not a 39-year-old former featherweight that had T-Rex arms fighting at 126.
And a 22 tendon.
Yeah, exactly.
Play the safe bet, Milk Card. Just take the over. Take the over, please.
Shout out to 92 Oku. His butt is getting exactly the amount of respect, pound for pound king. You have a wrench and you're letting dudes spam. Like, you know what I mean? You got to do, well, how about your credit, 92 Oku? That's fine, but check it out, okay? We got about 7 minutes here. Okay, we've basically gone over everything. First of all, Blood, tell everybody about your documentary, man. Salvador Sanchez. Where can they find that?
Oh, yeah, man. You all can find Salvador Sanchez, the documentary. It's over at my other page called Retro Boxing and Documentaries. I have 2 pages. I have one called Blood Boxing, which is just blood boxing, all one word. Then I have retro boxing and documentaries where you get boxing history. You get that Salvador Sanchez documentary. You're gonna get Aaron Pryor coming to you soon, and I'm gonna be bringing more heat to y'all motherfuckers. So y'all be on the lookout for that. And thanks a lot too, D Style. What are you asking me to sum it up here for what I gotta say, or just about Sanchez?
No, just that. Hold
Okay,
on.
yeah, man. Sanchez, y'all make sure y'all go check it. It's fire, man. It's got
Hey,
97 Rough on it too. 97 Rough was talking some mad shit and was drinking and was drunk all on the damn documentary and shit. So y'all go check it out. Listen to him talk about Pat Ford. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Make sure you guys check that out. Good job, by the way, Blood. With that, and good job to Dave as well. I think you did a great job as well. I listened to the whole thing. Dave, tell everybody about the Pandora news.
Oh well, I mean, we're on there, and then like I said, we were trying for like 2 years to get on there, and no, I mean, it's a great accomplishment, I think, for all of us, because the fact that we've always been written off, like, YouTubers or guys that don't have a like the Ring magazine or all that, like we didn't end up on there. We just did the groundwork. So to me, that was a great accomplishment and stuff like that. And going back with Blood's documentary, dude, I gotta tell you, I watched it when it came out. I was anticipating that. I was actually sitting down with my wife. We were watching this show called The Alienist that she's into, and I have this trick with her, right, where she's laying down, and I'll give her something heavy, like like an ice cream or something like that, and then she gets really tired. And then she's like falling asleep, and I go, "Hey, so I gotta go watch this documentary, but you're not gonna like it." And she goes, "Because my wife loves documentaries." She goes, "What documentary is it?" I go, "It's from Blood. It's like a Salvador Sanchez documentary. It's boxing, 3 hours long." And she goes, "All right, go ahead and go do your thing." I came to my office, grabbed my 6-pack, cracked it open. It was a great documentary, man.
Thank you, man.
Kudos, bro.
Thanks a lot, too, man, for helping me out too.
No, definitely. I'm just really quick, because the Leave It in the Ring roundtable is on D Style, and I asked D Style to do that for me, because the fact that D Style was one of the guys that reached out, like, "Hey man, we should do something again," and I just think it's phenomenal that we don't agree on everything, but it just makes it just great that we don't agree on everything, because I thought, I was hearing like from other folks like, "Oh, you guys are all going to agree on the same shit. You guys going to be on the same page." We're not. We're not on the same page. That's what makes it so great about the Leaving the Ring roundtable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially when you got guys like you and Beeve on the old bitter men. You and Beeve, old bitter sour face, man.
51 years old next month. I'm an old cantankerous, crusty old bastard.
Hey, but let me tell you guys, man, Leave It in the Ring is now on Pandora. Which
Yes.
You can listen to that if you have the Pandora app, and that includes all types of shows, which includes now, ringside reporter B. But how do you feel about being part of the Leave It in the Ring family?
I just love, branching out, man, because it's just more. Now we can get the Leave It in the Ring audience that's not listening to us now, so. It's just exciting to have different avenues to go down. We
should have happened a long time ago. It should have happened a long time. We need to get Blood on there, but he's too afraid to become commercial.
No, man, I think commercial with y'all. I'm gonna come on there and hang out, man.
Yeah, well, he's on right now. Look, Blood's back on Leave It in the Ring right now. They're gonna be listening to him on iHeart and everywhere now.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, all the cussing and everything. We don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, all of it's gonna be on there. 408. Go ahead and tell everybody where they could find you, man. What do you got going on right now?
Well, I'm still doing my show on Monday nights on Periscope, but I'm really excited to be part of this new venture with David. This Pandora streaming thing and all these different shows coming together. It feels like a shiny new sports car in the garage, and I just want to know how fast it goes. I'm looking forward to 2021 and driving this thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And Chief Funky Man, give us some final thoughts, bro.
Oh, this is great, man. I just love doing this with you guys. I'm the small guy. I'm the smallest channel here, probably. When D-Style asked me over a year ago to start doing shows with him, I never thought this would happen here. This is really all I really wanted to do ever since I've been on YouTube, was just talk boxing with people that know boxing, and I mean, I've been subscribed to all these guys for so many years, and now I get to do shows with them. So it's great, man. I appreciate everything, and all of you guys are always welcome to come on Uncensored on my channel anytime you guys want. Just send me your emails, and I'll send you guys the links. We get down over there. It's not PC or anything like that. So anytime you guys want to jump on, you can. But this is a great show, man, and thank you guys, and thank you everybody for watching.
And Emil Carr, you have any final thoughts? Anything lingering in your head that you wanted to say before you? I think he's.
Milcar's frozen.
I think he froze up. Yeah.
He's so like
He's so
playing that game.
starstruck. He's starstruck right now. From
What do they
everybody
call
being
that game where you just like freeze yourself and they videotape it all? You know what I mean? I don't know what happened there, guys.
He lost
look,
his
man.
feel, man. He lost his
Yeah,
Yo, this has been a great show. But before I close it out, I want to ask Dave, do you have any final thoughts, Dave?
Man, I just think it's great, man, that we're all on. And, having Blood on is like, it's always a treat, because Blood is one of the first guys that actually told me to do YouTube. I've always my heart's always been with my homeboy from the beginning. You know what I mean? And, like Blood always, I think what I respect the most about him is he just throws it all down, like there's no hold back from him. And I think that's why a lot of people gravitate to him, because he's so open. He doesn't give a shit, and he also gave me that power to go, fuck it. I'm going to go this route and I'm going to do this, and the rest of the guys, you know what I mean? Everybody that's on this panel have kind of gave me that power to go, man, let's just run with it. Let's just do something with it. You know what I mean? And like G-Funk, you're not the smallest channel on here, bro. You're a pretty big channel, bro. We all love you. We respect you, and I definitely listen to the show every single time. I'm trying to get the goddamn HCP fucking censor on the rotation, but you're being a dick by not sending it to me, because that'd be great to
That's
put
kind
on.
of the point. That's kind of the point. We're dicks on that show. So
Yeah.
And I gotta say, man, that I've been hearing people, man, you guys are causing a lot of panic out here. Well, that's kind of
That's the point. That's the
what I
point.
mean? So,
HCP, baby, we
It's
take
a
it
great
over.
show. It's really a great show, like what you guys are doing. 408 Dave, same thing, man. It's just the production, everything else that he does. It's just great,
And Dave, you tripped me out with this Pandora thing is like icing on the cake, because I have Pandora on my Sirius XM app. So like I could find, like, we're on there now, right? I'm going on Sirius XM app, Pandora, and we're on there. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it really contributes. But honestly, I gotta say this: it really contributes, like having D Style, G Funk, and everybody else that's along that line to push the numbers. So it wasn't just like leaving the ring. It was the overall the family and the listeners. They're the ones that really pushed that to get there. Because 2 years, man, I'm telling you, 2 years, they denied us. They said, no, man, you don't have the numbers. So it was great. I should have done this a long time ago. Having Ringside Reporter, having Joe Habib, having all the guys on that would have pushed those numbers over.
I don't know, man. Once Pandora listens to HCP, man, I don't know. Like, what I mean? They might kick you off of Pandora. But
they might, but it's okay.
But hey, with that said, man, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. Hey, G Funky, who's down with HCP?
Everybody.
That's right. Okay. So this is D Style Boxing. Keep it boxing.